to Semper Sometimes with Benny. So, seriously, welcome, Jaime. I just want to first of all thank you for being here in my humble abode. I think it's really crazy that I've known you for, well, how long have you been in the Marine Corps?
Hit 6 years 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I've known you since you were that little douchebag walking around Haagen-Dazs at the Monmouth Mall, Freehold Mall. My apologies. And now here you are, a sergeant, about to go on recruiting duty, and life has gone full circle. And I just want to welcome you to the show and just, kind of just start off by telling us who you are and just go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. It's awesome. I know we've been talking about it for a while, so finally be able to do it and in person too means a lot. But yeah, like you said, little douchebag in Haagen-Dazs, and I know I wasn't the easiest applicant to get in. Dealing with knee surgery early on, before parents cutting me off from insurance, making it much more difficult than it had to be. But glad it finally worked out. I went open contract just to ship out sooner, and I don't regret it to this day. I'm a 72-12 low altitude air defense gunner, so not a door gunner off helicopters. We shoot Stinger missiles. We're part of the wing, but luckily I got to do 2 MAGTFs with them in a UDP, and checking a BRC next weekend. So pretty excited for it.
Nice, man. So just so everybody knows what we're going to be talking about. This is so it started off with me wanting it to be like a dedication type thing to Dan Baltasari, which we'll get into heavily. But it also is just about you as a Marine, you as a man, and just talking about your career thus far and how you feel about the next steps in your career. So kind of just really just like a whole entire just synopsis of everything that's come to be, because a huge part of what we forget about or people forget about is the losses that we have throughout life, and people just kind of forget or just move on, and then you look back or it's like you knew Dan for how long? How long did you know Dan?
I knew him for about a year and some change because we were both in the pool program together. So always going out to Buffalo Wild Wings or PTing together. It's the time that we usually spend together.
Okay. So I wanted to, and that's the thing is, eventually I'm going to have his dad out. I had his recruiter talk, Mendoza, who was actually your recruiter as well. And then I'm going to try to get more and more people just to talk about who Dan was, outside of the Marine Corps, before the Marine Corps, just because he's not here to tell his own story. So I kind of wanted to talk to you about that. And then also, again, just haven't seen you in so long. I think there's some good topics we can get into. Yeah. So first of all, my question is kind of just start from the beginning. It took you a while to actually become a Marine, right? Like you were in the process for I remember a long time, us stopping at Haagen-Dazs and bullshitting with you, and I was like, dude, is this kid ever going to be a Marine? But I didn't know the back end. I was, I think, a Lance Corporal or Corporal at the time, so I didn't really know the ins and outs of recruiting duty. I didn't know what was going on with you. I didn't know anything. So can you kind of run us through what happened?
Yeah. So I'm Mexican, double last name, so I'm as Mexican as they come. My family, super family oriented. Mother, father, both still together. 2 sisters, and the goal was, you guys go to college, nothing else. There was no other option, no plan B on the table for us. And then, I don't know, I really struggled in high school. I was a class clown, always talking, so I got in trouble a lot, and just academics wasn't for me at the time, I felt. And then I worked at an office, and I worked at Haagen-Dazs, so I had 2 jobs. My dad kind of never really wanted me to play sports. He wanted me to work. Mexicans work at a young age, and he came from Mexico, started working when he was 10, so he's like, hey, as soon as you can, you start working. So I started working at Haagen-Dazs when I was a freshman in high school, and then I got an office job 2 years later, 99 Perfume, selling perfume online. Great website, check it out. But no, it was a really good job. It was super steady. It just wasn't for me. I didn't like the office. I didn't like being behind a keyboard and
bro, you're about to go on recruiting duty.
I know, but it's I'm different now. I just wanted to get out there and do some stuff. And then Staff Sergeant Mendoza called me one day. He said, "Hey, is this Jaime?" I said, "This is him. Who is this?" He said, "I'm Staff Sergeant Mendoza with the Marines." I'm like, "Hey, awesome, Staff Sergeant. Hate to cut you off, but or no, I said, sir, I didn't know shit about
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, sir, love you. Hate to cut you off. I'm all about it. You just got to get my mom on board. I'm actually at work right now. I got to go. Hung up on him, you know, and I've come to learn that was like a recruiter's wet dream right there, you know. So it's all aboard from an early start. So
like, hey man, here's the first thing you gotta just get over is my mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly.
And in your head, you're like, that's not gonna happen. It's not.
I mean, I knew it was gonna happen if I said it because they wouldn't believe it for me. But I was like, maybe he's the one. Maybe he's the one that'll push it. Because I went to the office a few times and I never found the Army guys there or the Navy guys because that's where I wanted to go. And then Air Force was off the table and they said I had to go to school while I was in. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me, Chief, later. And then never really thought about the Marine Corps, to be honest. I didn't know any Marines. I didn't know shit about the military beforehand, you know. Mm-hmm. I just thought the uniforms looked cool, especially when I ran into Staff Sergeant Mendoza in person.
Where did you graduate high school?
Freehold High School, Burrough.
Burrough?
Yeah.
So here's a really random question for you. How often did you see the Marine Corps in your school?
Not often.
Never.
No.
Never.
I mean, it was something that I never really paid attention to. And I think they'd, when you guys did go to Burrough, they'd line up next to the cafeteria, and I always avoided lunch period. So I kind of did my own thing.
So the reason why I ask you that is because throughout the country in different places, and you'll realize this when you get out on recruiting duty, there's schools that are all about it, and then there's schools that are like, no, you're not welcome in the school. Or there's like superintendents who make this rule, and they're like, no, you're not welcome. And then literally what happens, and people don't know this, but what happens is that schools like Freehold Burrough are like, hey man, you can only come in once a year, and that's when our colleges come in. And then it's like, okay, well, there's people like you or other people who never hear about the Marine Corps, the military in general. It's not just the Marine Corps, but now your only one thing is, hey, you're going to go to college.
Yeah.
But now you don't have other options because, bro, first of all, college isn't for everybody.
No.
And secondly, it's also just the idea that, like, you should at least be able to know what opportunities there are for you. But you're not. And the huge reason for that is that I did not know this until years later, but the school gets more state funding based off of the amount of people that go on to secondary education. So when they lose when they lose children or kids to military, they lose state funding. So a huge reason why they're like, no, we're good, is because, we have to keep those numbers up. We need to send those kids to the community college, to the 4-year college, or whatever it is. And again, the reason why I'm saying this is just the idea that, like, there's thousands of millions of people out there in the world who know nothing about the military, and it's not because they didn't want to know about it. It's that they weren't even given the opportunity to know about it. So what was it, though? So he calls you, he talks to you about it, but what was it specifically that made you decide, like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and join the Marine Corps?
My thing is I'm really big into, like, I don't know, destiny, you know, God kind of playing his hand when you need to. And I was stuck in the motions. You know, I was working a 9 to 5. I hated it. I was making really good money, though, but I didn't want to stay in New Jersey. Like, nothing against Freehold. I have a really good friend group. I mean, you met my best friend yesterday. He's been my best friend since middle school. He's my friend group's small. I talk to a lot of people, but my friend group is pretty small.
Yeah.
But when I got that call, like, the first thing that came to mind was like, this is destiny. And then it's like, I think of it like an avalanche effect, you know? Once something triggers, like, it just kind of falls down and more builds up into it. And then my older sister and me, we had a really bad relationship growing up together, but she kind of, like, talked to me one day. I was like, oh, this is my friend Jose. And her friend Jose was in the Marine Corps. And I was like, dude, I just talked to a recruiter yesterday. And then he was a big dude. He's like, you're too small for it, man. You suck. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I can outrun you. I can outdo this. And he's like, no, you suck. You won't make it. But he helped me out. He kind of started beating me up early about it, which I thought was really good for me. But then, like, you know, you talk to one Marine, then it just kind of kept snowballing. And then I met another Marine, old guy. I met him at Haagen-Dazs. He was a regular, and then one day he finally kind of started talking. It's like, hey, what do you plan on doing? He's like, I just had a recruiter call me. He's like, oh, awesome, you should definitely do it. And I want to say his MOS was Intel. He was an Intel guy that got lucky. He was definitely Intel because he was part of the batch that got lucky, and they called them Fruit Basket Marines. As when he came in, like, the early 90s, since Intel needed to go around a lot, they would get stuck on Muse and would end up in all the places where they're awarding medals. So they would get a bunch of like awards for minimal time being there, and then everyone just call them like the fruit basket awards because their stacks were huge.
Yeah,
It was like, oh, that's awesome. And then Staff Sergeant Mendoza finally got the ball rolling with my parents. They opened up to it. I was supposed to go 03 in January of 2014. November of 2013. I want to say it was the week of Thanksgiving. I was with him, and at the time, Gunnery Sergeant Diaz. They worked out with me extra just because I sucked at ISTs. Pull-ups were minimal, runtime wasn't that great, crunches were subpar for somebody like me. So they took that extra time, and we'd go to Workout World. When those before it was Jersey Strong, and I was squatting one day, and I just collapsed at the gym with the weight. It was like 215, but I barely weighed like 100 pounds. And I tore my meniscus.
Oh shit!
And obviously we're like a reflection of our parents. My parents, being super religious, they're like, that's a sign from God not to go. You're not going anymore. I was still 17, so I hadn't turned 18 yet, and I still needed their signature. So they told Staff Sergeant Mendoza no. And once that happened, my dad's like, listen, like, you're not going. And I was like, well, Dad, I want to go. And when I'm 18, I don't need you anymore. He was like, cool, if you don't need me, then you don't need to be on my health insurance. So he took me off his health insurance, not realizing that once I turned 18, he couldn't just get me back on. It was going to be like a process because I'm technically like an illegal adult at that point.
Yeah.
And I turned 18, and then my dad's like, all right, well, do you still want to join? I was like, yeah. And then he's like, well, we'll see what we can do about your insurance. I just couldn't get back on the insurance. So then I was just like, listen, like, Staff Sergeant, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I need to do. Like, I'm fully committed to it. Like, I'll pay for the insurance myself. Get to the hospital, and then another Marine's mom was a nurse there. He was in 03. I just blanked out his name. I think it was Fisher. Last name Fisher. White dude. Really good dude. His mom was a nurse there. And it's like, have you heard of the Charity Act? And I was like, no. And basically, like, from what I understood is they kind of put your story online, like on a board, and someone, like a sponsor, will donate some money towards your surgery.
Oh shit!
And it's all anonymous, so like you can't reach out to them. Like you could send out like a thank you note.
Yeah.
But you can't specifically get that person's name to ask them for more. Like, why'd you cover this? It makes sense. And somebody covered like my entire surgery. And then the only hurdle I had to get over was therapy.
Yeah.
And Staff Sergeant Mendoza dedicated like a whole week every day, just going with me to different shops, like different PT sites, like asking like, hey, can we get a discount? He doesn't have insurance, but he needs to do this to go through with the Marine Corps process. And nothing was coming up. And then Center State, there was a new spot right down the road from it. And we walk in, and Staff Sergeant Mendoza's doing his thing. He's in his freaking dress blue Deltas, and older guy, Pete Sanzio, comes up to him. He's like, oh, he wants to be a Marine? And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, who are you, boo? And then as soon as Staff Sergeant Mendoza heard that, he's like, okay, like, what's up? He's like, I was a Marine. I got out as a corporal. Same thing, Intel guy, fruit basket Marine. And he's like, I'll do it for free. Just be here 3 days a week at this time, and we'll get it. And I was like, thank you so much.
Wow.
So with him, I did like 3 to 4 months of surgery, and it was great. Tried going 03 again. Contracts were backed up though, and Staff Sergeant Mendoza just hit me with the truth. He's like, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. There's no 03 contracts open till 2016. What do you want to do? And recently, what had happened was I forget their names, but there was like 3 or 4 dudes before me that went open contract, and all of them got infantry. And they left with Ruggiero. You remember him?
Yeah.
So they left with him. Sounded like the ball, like, luck's on my side right now. The ball's in my court. And I was like, listen, I'll leave whenever you want me to, man. At this point, I kind of just want to get out. And he's like, okay. And then Gunny Diaz at the time talked to me about it, and he's like, listen, like, you don't have to be a third employee. You know that, right? And he's like, no, I didn't know that. But again, like, I'm willing to do anything. Tuesday night, I'm at Haagen-Dazs. I'm closing. Staff Sergeant Mendoza calls me. He's like, can you ship out tomorrow? Or sorry, it was Monday night. It was like August 4th, I want to say, of 2015 at this point. And I was like, yeah, I can leave tomorrow. Looked at my boss. I'm like, hey, man, I quit. I'm leaving. You're never going to see me again. And he's like, well, you can't just quit like that. And I was like,
Gus, move.
That's a dog, everyone.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
So, yeah, I left to boot camp the next day. I got home. I told my mom I'm leaving. My dad and my mom were both crying. My best friend that you met yesterday came over with two of my other buddies. We all had just... I don't even know what we did. I think we shared like a bag of chips or something. We didn't plan for it, you know. There was shit at the house. And, yeah, next day, Steph from Mendoza picked me up. I had a blue-collared shirt, some khakis, my Sperry's, and, yeah, just beat feet to Paris Island. And I didn't know my MOS, and then when we graduated, the drill instructor was like, "All right, we're calling out everyone's MOS," and they didn't call my name. And then the drill instructor was like, "Listen, you'll find out at North Carolina."
Oh shit!
And I was like, "Okay." I get to North Carolina, and that's when they're like, "Yeah, you're going to 29 Palms." I don't know, probably calm. So at this point, I think I'm gonna be a radio operator.
Yeah. So they still didn't even tell you.
They still didn't even tell me.
No idea.
So I finished MTT, and then I finally get to freaking 29 Palms on the day of my birthday. So this is like January 4th of 2016. And I get there, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm checking in. I'm supposed to go to comm battalion or whatever," and they're like, "No, 72. No, we don't know what the hell you're doing here." And I was like, "What?" And she was a corporal that was getting med set. And she's like, "Yeah, you're not calm." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm a Marine, so like, what does that mean? Like, you can't just leave me here. I'm in California." And she's like,
"Well, I don't understand. You didn't have orders?"
"No, I had orders,
but it didn't say to where or to
it said
what?
to 29 Palms. That's why I thought it was calm.
That's all it said.
Yeah, because no one really knew what 7212 was.
Okay.
And then finally, like, I lucked out, and the OD was the staff sergeant. He's like, "Oh, lag gunner?" And I was like, I don't know, staff sergeant. I just see 7212. He's like, "Yeah, it's lag gunner, stupid." And I was like, "Okay, perfect." And then
because I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that number. Yep. I knew.
And then I ended up at 29 Palms for 6 months, and then checked into my unit in the fleet June 2nd of 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit. You met Dan in the pool, in the pool program.
Yeah, I met him. He had already been there for a minute, so he left before me. I want to say he's like probably like the third or fourth person I met there, because Ruggiero was the first one. Then the brunette that he was always with,
Mason. Yeah.
Met them two together because they're attached at the hip. And then Dan, I think he was working that first Tuesday that I went, so I didn't meet him until like the following week. But yeah, as soon as I met him, open arms. You would have thought we'd known each other for a while already. So
yeah, that's how he always was with everybody.
Yeah,
I remember that. How was he as a do you remember anything about him? Do you recall any memories that maybe you guys had at all?
Yeah, I mean, this dude, he was always up front. We're running. Good overall dude. I think my favorite part about him though was I hated when new Marines came back, like the privates, PFCs, and they'd yell at you like drill instructors. And I was like, dude, like, you're not a drill instructor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, come on now. But Dan, I forget who it was that came back, and then this private was like, okay, all you do this, and then Dan was just like, dude, like, if you're not gonna fight me right now, don't fucking scream at me. And this dude was like, I'll tell the recruiter right now, and he's like, oh my god, I'm so fucking scared.
Yeah.
And then like nothing came of it, and I was like, dude, nice. And like we just fist bumped each other, and it was like raining out in that little grass lot behind the RSS over there. And I was like, dude, that dude's gonna go home pissed, bro.
Yeah. And
he's like, yeah, what the fuck's he screaming at me for? Like,
yeah, like, dude, no, I definitely get it.
So that was
it's crazy, man, because that little small lot's not there anymore. It's a shop right now. Yeah.
What?
So all those haze fests that we used to do with all the poolies, that whole entire thing's a whole shopping plaza now.
No.
Yeah,
damn.
it sucks. Yeah.
I love that little grass lot.
Yeah.
A lot of dudes threw up there.
So how was your your career like so far? Like, have you had? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why did you decide to stay in the Marine Corps? As far as to go on, because like another reason why I had you out here is because like my biggest thing is that like I've met so many and people are gonna do what they're gonna do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were just talking about like it's nothing bad about Freehold, right? But we were talking about it last night, like
yeah,
people join the Marine Corps, and a lot of especially people like that I've met from Freehold Borough. When you sit down with them, you're like, hey, why are you joining the Marine Corps? The first thing they say is to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like you said. And then all of a sudden, 4 years from now, they're like, oh, bro, I can't wait to go back to Borough. And it's like, dude, you joined to leave Borough. So, and then they get back to Borough, and they're like, oh, man, I probably should have stayed in the Marine Corps, really thinking my decision over. And I'm not going to name any names, but there's a dude who we both know who just did that and complains for 4 straight years, and now he's freaking posting Facebook statuses about really thinking about going back, and it's like...
It's the ones that talk the shit the most that are...
And that's the thing, man. It's like, listen, bro, at the end of the day, everybody's going to do what they're going to do, and I don't expect... And people get this mixed up with me. A lot of people think that I expect everybody to do 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all. It's the problem that you have is that so many people... They just, if you take your first 4 years, and I understand that I will always understand this, that I see things very differently because I wasn't active duty. I'm a reservist, I get that. But I've been on both, and I've done both, right? And I've talked to both. But my thing is, and from most people that I've talked to agree with me, is that you cannot take your first enlistment as anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because, bro, and the thing that people forget is that you're surrounded by different leadership. You might get the worst pick the first time around, and then you might the second, third time get the freaking best pick.
Yeah.
And you can't change it. And it's the same thing with getting a civilian job.
Mm-hmm.
You might love your job, but you might hate your boss. And it's like people think like, oh, I'm gonna get out of the Marine Corps and life's gonna be so much different. No, bro, it's really not. So, like, my question to you is while you were going through your time, was it easy for you to make the decision to stay in? Or did you think about just saying, hey, I'm done? Like, well, how did that play out for you?
So, earlier you asked, like, what my career's been like. I've been very lucky my entire life. And my first enlistment was a roller coaster of a ride. And I told you about the beginning of my second enlistment, which was not the best.
Mm-hmm.
But also want to touch on one thing too that you brought up. It's good that we want to talk about Dan, but 2 of my close friends just like killed themselves. One in February, and then like my absolute best friend like in July. One re-enlisted, the other one didn't. You know what I'm saying? So, the common thought is if I get out, life's gonna be better. It's not. A lot of people they say the grass is greener on the other side. I think that's incorrect. I think the right way is that you should think in everything in life. Is the grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah.
And that's something I heard very early on.
Yeah. I was just gonna say who waters their grass more.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Is it watered? Is it maintained? Because I do my backyard's. I should have a really nice backyard with some nice grass, but guess what? That motherfucker pisses all over it. So I don't, and I don't maintain it. So where's the grass greener?
Exactly. So I think for them, it's like they're my both close friends, and one, like I said, stayed in, the other one didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They both killed themselves. So it's the answer isn't get out or stay in. The answer is take care of your mental health, and that's something we don't think about. And it's if you want to do 4, that's great. Just capitalize on your time.
Yeah,
just capitalize on your time within it, and it's gonna suck. It really is, because like you gotta work your ass off, especially when you're at a high op tempo spot. Yeah. Like my unit, as soon as I graduated, like, hey, you're deploying.
Yeah.
So I checked in and went straight to the field.
Yeah.
Came off the field, went straight back to the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just quick into it.
Yeah.
And I also said I was lucky, and it's because a lot of my NCOs are like, "Hey, we want you to do this stuff because we never did." So when I was out in Bahrain,
before you move into that, I don't want to forget this. I want you said it, and it's the reality of it. You have to maximize. And what did you say exactly? Fuck.
You got to maximize your time in.
Yeah, and you have to capitalize on it with what you said, because that's the thing, man. And that's, dude. When I sat down, and here's the thing for when you get on recruiting duty, right? What I would do is, I would sit down with people. I'm gonna make sure. Hey, listen, I know I'm recording, but I want to make sure this is still recording because this is my first time recording on the iPad, and the last thing that I want to do is get lost.
No more storage. Okay. Still good?
Yeah, we're still good. Yo, this is the first iPad, so just forgive me. So what I would do with everybody, right? And I'll show you how to do it like later, but I'm telling you, this is something that will change your entire life. And I didn't do it until I was a year and a half into freaking community. What I did was, so I learned it from a master gunnery sergeant, but then I kind of took his and spun it onto my own shit, right? So what I do with people is I sit down with people and I put a T. On the left side I put Jaime. On the right side on the left side I put Mr. Flores. On the right side I put Sergeant Flores. The reason why I do that is because the left-hand side is going to be everything you want to accomplish in the next 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. Then the right-hand side is everything you can accomplish in the next 4 years while in the Marine Corps. Now, mind you, I said everything you can because I'm not going to tell you you will get this because I can't tell you that. It's your work ethic that's going to get you it or it's not going to get you it. And it's also where do you get placed, all of those things come into play. But I'm going to show you how you could possibly get those things, right? But what I'm going to do first, though, is on the left-hand side, I'm going to ask you, I ask you, hey, man, what do you want in the next 4 years? What are some things that you want? Tell me.
Education, that's always a big one, brand new car thing. So, just common wickets.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask you, I'm going to write those down, and then I'm going to ask you, how do you get those? 9 times out of 10, every freaking kid you talk to is going to say, hard work. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Break that down to me. Then you're going to go through their financial situation. Then you're going to go through all this stuff, and they're going to show them point by point how, bro, you really don't have a plan to get that. So now, on the right-hand side, exactly, you have an idea, but you don't have a plan, right? So now on the right-hand side, I'm going to go over everything with you. I'm going to show you how the Marine Corps is going to get you the education. It's going to get you this. It's going to get you this. Now, I've created a plan for you through the Marine Corps. You don't have a plan on the other side. Then I look at you and I say, who do you want to be? Mr. Flores or Sergeant Flores? Every single time, I want to be Sergeant Flores. Now, do they always commit? Nah. And then that's when I'm like, bro, you told me you wanted to be fucking Sergeant Flores and now you're backing out on me. Why?
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I bring all this up is because I had those hard conversations with people because when 4 years from now, you're either going to come out the Marine Corps as Mr. Flores or you're going to come out of the Marine Corps and you're going to always be Sergeant Flores or you're going to stay in the Marine Corps. And like you said, you're going to capitalize it or you're not.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, again, it's not about staying in the Marine Corps for an eternity. But if you're going to do 4 years, don't be mad at everybody else because you spent all of your money on alcohol.
It's misguided.
You spent all of your money on this. You spent all of your money on that. You did everything that they make fucking memes about. Yeah. Everything they make Terminal Lance makes bullshit talks about. You decided to continue to do. All those corporals and sergeants you saw get divorced, get NJP'd, all that shit. You said, I'm going to do the same thing. And now you're mad at the Marine Corps or someone because they didn't tell you not to do it. Bro, you know better.
It's just people don't want to blame themselves.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And the thing is that now you get out of the Marine Corps. You don't have money in your savings account. You don't have a car. What are you doing? You're moving back in your house with your mom and dad. You now have to borrow money from them because you didn't save anything. And now all of your boys are like, bro, why did you even join? And now you're like, why did I even join? Or you can be like my boy freaking, and I don't know if you know him, but Ryan Cottrell. Ryan Cottrell was recon. Bro, dude saved mad money, got out of the Marine Corps, did his time, and he was never complained about. Dude, the dude was recon, bro. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, what does he tell me? He tells me that he trained a whole lot of shit for nothing because, unfortunately, he never went overseas. Recon really doesn't get that much money, so they don't really get the cool missions.
Yeah,
so,
they're in a tough place right now.
Yeah, but he doesn't blame it on anything. He's like, hey, bro, I did what I joined to do, and what did I do? I saved all of this money. Sion. Bro, Sion started his own, this dude Sion, recon dude, Joyce, recon dude. Bro, they're both got money in the bank. They started Instagram channels. They have freaking photography businesses while they're still in the Marine Corps. And now Joyce is out in, I think, Utah, using his GI Bill to go to college to become an officer and then switch to, I think, the Army. Yeah. But he had a freaking plan. And he capitalized on what he could capitalize while he was in the Marine Corps. He didn't just fucking get NJP'd left and right and then say, oh, the Marine Corps did this to me. So, my question for you is like, how did you capitalize it while still doing deployments to Iraq, to wherever you've been? Mm-hmm. Like, how did you manage to work as hard as you did but still capitalize to get where you are now?
Back up a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
I just actually forgot it. But anyway, so how I worked hard, how I came to the decision of re-enlisting was I was that Lance Corporal that talked shit. You know, I always said, fuck the Marine Corps, fuck this. I was blaming the wrong things. But like I said earlier, I had a really good support system my entire career, even up till now. My corporals that I had in my first deployment, like they were promoted to sergeant. We're best friends now. They're out in the Marine Corps doing great. But, you know, we're out in Bahrain. They're like, hey, we want you to get your black belt. We never had that opportunity. And we're 5 years deep. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm just a PFC. And they're like, well, do it now. That way you'll never have to do it again. And I did. I got my black belt as a Lance Corporal. And then I thought it was going to feel great. You know, I went boots and utes. I went out of my way to show that thing off. And what really pissed me off is like the NCOs that didn't know me, they all came up and like talk shit. They're like, dude, fuck you. Like a boot shouldn't be wearing that. Take it off. So it's kind of like there's a lot of resentment. You know, a lot of bitterness that I built up. Staff Sergeant Figueroa, who we just had on, he was one of the only dudes. He was a sergeant at the time that came up to me and said, "Hey, congrats, that's good shit. Keep it up." But just know you kind of screwed yourself up for corporal because now you gotta do something to outshine the black belt. Tab. But you know, he gave me a new goal, get that tab right, and I was like, okay, hell yeah, that's badass. I'll do it.
But that's the thing, bro. Is that and me and him talked about it on the episode that I did with him. Is that, bro? Stop being a fucking scumbag, bro. Like, if you're a fucking toxic corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant, or whoever the fuck you are, get the fuck out, dude. Yeah. Because you literally should be that corporal who's like, hey, man, you know what? I had the chance to do this, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. Or I didn't have the chance to do it. I want you to. Yeah. You should be the person who's like, hey, man, I could have done better here. I could have done better here. Which is literally why I started this channel. Why I literally started this podcast. Is because there's so many things that I could have done on recruiting duty better that I didn't do. And nobody ever said, hey, motherfucker, stop doing what you're doing because you're becoming an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. Hey, motherfucker, stop doing what you're doing because you're losing your family. You're not home with your kids. You're not home with your wife. Nobody stopped me and said that. When somebody literally could have been like, hey, man, you know what? I've been in your shoes. I've been where you are. Stop doing what you're doing and maybe look at it this way. And that's the thing, is that someone like Staff Sergeant Figueroa was like, hey, bro, good shit. Yeah. Good shit. Because now, why am I going to be mad at you because you got a black belt? What? Because I don't have... And I guarantee you, those corporals that were saying, why you have a black belt, probably were gray belts.
Yeah, so that's the thing, too, that... and I've noticed this with... I've worked with a lot of the branches. Like, I don't know why it is or how it became a thing, but it's like, we're scared of the people coming after us doing better than us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like... The way I look at it is every Lance Corporal, PFC, private that I have the pleasure of working with, it's like... They're my replacements, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's why shouldn't they be better than I am?
Yeah.
You know, like I should be facilitating them, giving them the tools, tips, tricks. You know, it's like, hey, I did this when I was 18. Like, you probably shouldn't do it,
bro. There was like when I was in the reserve program, people forget to understand that like there's, especially in the Marine Corps, even on active duty, there's people who join the Marine Corps at fucking 28 years old, bro. Yeah. Like, and people forget that. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, bro, I know people who were literally owners of businesses who decided last minute, you know what, man, I'm going to join the Marine Corps for many reasons. I know people that I've put in the Marine Corps in that situation. You know, I've known, and I'm saying this because I've had people who literally, like my one boy Abrams and my one boy Willard, they were both lead diesel mechanics in their shops in the towns in which they lived. And they knew what the fuck they were doing when it came to motor T. So when they went to MOS school, it wasn't like they were just learning this shit from day one. Like, no, they already knew this shit. And then when they came back and they checked in and Sergeant so-and-so was like, hey, you're going to go do this and this. And he was like, no, I'm not. He respectfully was like, Sergeant, if I do that, you're going to fuck this truck up. And the sergeant's like, oh, no. And he was like, no, seriously. If you do that, we're going to cost a life. We're going to cost this. We're going to cost this. This can't be done. You can't do that. It's going to be a problem. But because somebody was a sergeant, they were like, bro, I can't take your word because you're a Lance Corporal.
Yeah.
Bro, you don't know where that dude's been. And that's the thing is you have to be able... Because, dude, there's Lance Corporals who literally have phenomenal ideas that we've never thought of.
I mean, especially now more than ever. They have access to everything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
but now all of a sudden I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, nah, bro, you're good.
Yeah.
Nah, man, go serve 4 more years. No, motherfucker. Listen to that dude because... Now, mind you, am I going to take everything he has to say and make it happen? No. But I'm going to listen to him and I'm going to let him know that he's valued because what he's saying might potentially make fucking sense and maybe there is a better way of doing what we've been doing forever. You know, and it happens all the time. It doesn't mean that you're lesser than somebody, but you need to be able to be that person and be like, hey, man, you know what? Let's talk about that. You know what? I encourage you to be better because I want you to be better than me. Why would I want you to be worse than me? I'm already shitty as fuck. Even if you're the best of the best, which you're not, because that's not possible. Someone out there is better than you. You'll find them. Like, it just aggravates the fuck out of me.
Yeah, dude, that's what kills me, man. I think...
and that's why people get out. That's literally why people get out.
And sometimes, like, I feel like we try too much to be individuals in the Marine Corps when we shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, we should all kind of be baseline somewhere. Like, you know, they break us down. It's like, okay, these guys all think, act, like, relatively same. I'm like, cool. Could we have our different ideologies? Yes, there's a time and place for it.
Yeah.
But sometimes we want to be so unique to something that we forget to, like, kind of just respect boundaries at times.
Well,
you know
before
like,
you
when
came...
they say, you got to drink the punch sometimes.
Yeah,
I think that's
drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, you got to drink a little bit of the Kool-Aid every so often.
Well, before you came here, I did another episode with a buddy of mine, and we started talking about human factors, and that's the thing is people literally forget about that. People forget about that we are all human beings, and there's things going on in the world and behind the scenes that you don't know, and like your 2 friends that passed on that committed suicide. Maybe there was a lot of shit going on that nobody fucking knew, cared to ask, or even thought to ask. And that's why you have to. But one of the things I was just going to bring up was just, I don't know, I forgot. But so how was the, so what did you do to capitalize on your time while in the Marine Corps? And then also tell us a little bit about the travel and adventure that you've been able to have thus far.
So I just didn't start capitalizing until recently. I was kind of a piece of shit.
So hold on. So what do you mean by that?
So
because I'm glad that you're recognizing that because I'll tell you the truth. I was a shitbag Lance Corporal, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna lie.
Same.
So when you say that, what do you mean? And the reason why I ask you to bring this up is because there's shitbag Lance Corporals out there right now who their mentality. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. Got you. Hold on. Mm-hmm. So the other night, I was at the event, right, for my podcast and for, the business exposition. And one of the guys that I was working out with, that was doing with, he started a foundation called Pat's Purpose. And we were sitting at the bar just talking. Him and his other buddy was a Marine, 2-time Purple Heart. And we were just talking, bullshitting, camaraderie and just talking about, And I asked him, I was like, hey, man, why'd you get out of the Marine Corps? And he literally shows me his middle finger, and his middle finger is a Lance Corporal chevron. Meanwhile, he got out as a corporal. So we started talking, and I was just like, what happened? Like, why'd you get out? He's like, I had deployments after deployments, and as I was deciding to get out of the Marine Corps, now mind you, this is not, I apologize if I don't quote you perfectly, but we had a couple of drinks. So he just starts talking about it, and he's like, dude, because I was a Lance Corporal, even though I fucking humped thousands of miles while I was overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, he was like, higher-ups wouldn't come and ask me for advice because I was a Lance Corporal. Literally. But now, behind closed doors, they would do it. And they would ask me, hey, man, tomorrow we got to brief this and the third. What do you think we should do? Behind closed doors, they would give him that ability. But in front of everybody else, he was just a Lance Corporal. Mm-hmm. And that's literally, he was like, bro, that's why I got out of the fucking Marine Corps. And he was like, and then he's like, I got corporal a couple of days before I got out. And he's like, that's why I literally got Lance Corporal, tattooed on my middle finger. Because he was like, bro, at heart, for the rest of my life, I'll always be a Lance Corporal. I'll be that terminal Lance. And for the first time ever, I understood why there are terminal lances that I could end up respecting. Mm-hmm. Because for a long time, I was like, bro, if you're a terminal lance, you're a terminal lance because you're a piece of shit. But then I meet him, and I talk to him, and he's like, bro, I have a name with a V that it doesn't mean anything to me. What matters to me is what actually happened while I was out overseas. And the reason why I'm just bringing it up is because of the idea that, like you said, like, there's Lance Corporals out there who, because they're a Lance Corporal, we don't treat them with the proper respect. And it's like, dude, that guy's still a man. He still puts his pants on the same way that we do.
Yeah. And he shows up.
And and he's there every day. He's not the scumbag who fucking went UA and then fucking whatever. And even if he is, give him a chance. Help him get better, whatever it is. But back to what you were saying.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like I had a lot of resentment, and I was blaming the wrong things. You know, I was blaming the Marine Corps for stuff a sergeant was doing to me. And it's like, hey, Ortiz, you're going to do this. You're going to do this every day. You're going to be a morning cleanup 05 every day. Like, we don't care that you're senior Lance Corporal with one deployment. Like, you're going to do this. And I just kept blaming the Marine Corps. And I was like, fuck the Marine Corps. Fuck this. And then I started getting low fades. I had a nasty-ass mustache. I just started bringing more attention to myself in a negative tone, right? So I had the faded camis with the holes everywhere. And then, like, I didn't realize that I was playing into what they were portraying me to be. A turd, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I got promoted to corporal, and it got worse because now I had responsibilities, and I was that non-commissioned officer, so now I could really do what I want.
Yeah.
So I kind of started fucking at Marines and getting back like what I thought I was rightfully owed, which was wrong. And then.
So now, why do you think that this was happening by this sergeant? Did you ever find out? Did you have any idea?
No idea. I never cared to ask. But
there was no purpose for it.
There was no purpose for it, you know.
And that's the fucking thing, bro. And that's the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Is, bro, if you're gonna do anything, there has to be a purpose behind it. Having somebody out here at 05 in the morning just because you can, it's stupid. You're not, and that's literally why people fucking commit suicide, bro. Is because you're being belittled by some dude that feels like for the first time his entire life he has this chip on his shoulder where he's like, I could make someone do something. And it's like, bro, fuck you. Yep. If that's you, you need to get the fuck out of the Marine Corps, bro.
Yeah, so I got promoted to corporal, man, and things got a little bit better. I kind of started doing my thing a little bit more, but then one day I said something to Lance Corporal, and a staff sergeant snitched to my platoon sergeant, another staff sergeant, and said, Corporal Ortiz is hazing Marines. So they called me back and kind of like blasted me in front of junior Marines. It really sat wrong with me. So then I kind of started wrestling back. So I was pretty much...
Well, yeah, because that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, I was a corporal with Lance Corporal chevrons. But then my best friend got kicked out the Marine Corps for doing blow. Like, you know, fucking shit happens. But, you know, with one negative comes one positive. I took his spot for UDP with Gunnery Sergeant Sheridan. He was a staff sergeant at the time. But we went out to ITX for a workup. And he came up to me one day and was like, hey, why aren't you doing corporal things? Like, what the fuck's your problem? You know, and I was kind of like, oh shit, like, put my hands behind my back, like, dude, like, is he blasphemy? Is he, like, what, he kind of said it weird, you know? And I was like, staff sergeant at the time, and I was like, staff sergeant, I don't know, like, I'm not used to this. My old staff sergeant, my old platoon sergeant would get mad at me for doing this, and this, like, no, your thing's accountability, welfare of the Marines. Knock that shit out, I'll take care of the mission. I was like, perfect. And he's like, they stray from left or right, you fucking correct them how you see fit, and I'll have your back 100% of the time. I was like, fuck yeah, kick ass. So yeah, I got back into it. I found my rhythm again, my groove. But I was still getting drunk every single fucking day, like nonstop. Then I went out to Oki, and I was like, I'll treat the UDP like an actual deployment. I stayed sober for 1 month, and then I checked in the corporal scores. And I met some of the greatest corporals ever, like freaking Ashley Salgado, this dude named Brenton. I don't know if he's still out, so I don't want to fuck it up, but if he's still in, he's a sergeant, probably looking at staff. That dude is locked on. A lot of cool dudes. The instructors are great. One of them's at the depot. One of them's over here on the East Coast. But yeah, they were just top-notch dudes and like instructors, and I still felt good. And then my best friend Ryan Bang was with me, and like I was like, dude, like I think I like the Marine Corps again. Like I think I want to do this for a long time. And then he's like, if you were to get out tomorrow, would you go back to your parents' house? And I said, like, what do you mean? He's like, if you get hit by a bus right now, you have to get out the Marine Corps tomorrow. What is your plan? What is your income going to be? And I was like, I don't have one. And then he's like, okay, yeah, then you definitely have to stay in. Because we were both looking at re-enlisting. And I was like, oh shit, I never thought about it like that.
And that's the thing, bro, because like, I have so many of these people that I follow up with, just like you.
Yeah.
And people that are just like, bro, and I think people think that I'm all right, I am an asshole.
Yeah.
I will say that unequivocally because I know that I am. But people think that what I'm saying doesn't come from a place of love. Like I'm not the guy that like I don't want to be able to say, "Hey, bro, I fucking told you so." Now, am I going to enjoy it? Of course, 100%. But I don't want to say that. I want you to be able to look at me and be like, you know what, Mo? That's not how it happened.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because I don't know yet. I've only known a few, but 99% of the Lance Corporals, people who get out of the Marine Corps their first 4 years, just come back to Monmouth County and they don't do a goddamn thing, and they just do nothing. And they move right back in their house. And they have no... Now, mind you, I want to correct this. I'm not saying that if you get out of the military and your plan is to go home, save up money while you use your GI Bill to bank a housing allowance of the BAH, and then save all that to then be able to have a down payment or have money to then use your VA loan. Now that, bro, fucking do it.
Yeah, more power to you.
Yeah, if that's what you're going to do. Right? But I'm not saying get out of the Marine Corps tomorrow to come live back at your mom and dad's house that you literally joined to leave, because now you're a grown-ass man who's living back with mommy and daddy. And for what? So you can go start getting hammered with your friends who literally have no lives? Like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Is like if you want to get out tomorrow, what the fuck are you going to do?
Exactly. And that's where I messed up. Like, my 4 years felt longer than they were. Because, you know, in Oki, I was already at 2.5. And then Bang was just like, he got out of sergeant, but he's like, dude, I know I want to get out. I got this much saved up. And, like, Ortiz, I love you to death, dog. Because me and him joined boot camp at the same exact time on opposite coasts.
Yeah.
So we're together, like, the entire time.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love you to death, dog, but we both joined at the same time. I know you don't have half the amount that I have saved up. And I was like, yeah, dude, you're right. Yeah. And he's like, what I'm going to do, because this is my plan, I know I can fall back on it. He already applied to school. Like, he already had a date for, like, 2 years out, because you can apply early through the military and kind of give him your contract.
Bro, that's the shit that people don't do.
He's like, I'm moving in with my parents, because their brother's there, like, working, so I don't have to pay for rent. Yep. I'm pocketing all that BA. Yeah. And, like, all that's going to go to my house that I'm going to move to in Washington. And I was like, fuck. And then he's like, yeah, like,
well, and the other
you don't
thing,
have a plan, dog, and you don't know what you're going to study, and you kind of suck at school right now. And I was like, damn, man, you're right.
Exactly.
So
and that's the thing.
I dropped re-enlistment papers, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And then Gunny Sheridan told me the same thing. He's like, Ortiz, like, if you don't have a concrete plan, and you don't want to go live with your parents, then stay in the Marine Corps, man. Yeah. Take one more enlistment to figure it out, because guess what? You're a sergeant then. So now you can really kind of do what you want with less people kind of hampering you, because once you're a sergeant, like, it's pretty freaking great, man. Yeah.
And that's the thing.
You can kind of do your own thing, you know.
And that's the thing, bro. It's like anything else, man. Like, everyone gets so bent out of shape that, bro, I'm a Lance Corporal, I can't do anything. Bro, guess what? If you were freaking 20, 21 years old in any other firm in the world, you wouldn't have those luxuries either, motherfucker. Yeah. You're not going to start off doing whatever you want. No, you got to freaking take out the trash. You got to go. Now, mind you, is it as crazy as the Marine Corps where you're, you know, getting field aid every Thursday? I'm not. I get it. But what I'm saying is that, like you said, like, with more, you know, experience comes more abilities and more things. You can focus on different things.
More than anything.
Exactly.
You know, we become wiser as we grow older.
And that's what it is, man.
We got to be able to take criticism, and I think that's what's really been, like, beneficial to me is people blast me, and I don't get butthurt over it. I kind of really listen to it, and then I kind of reflect. It's like, well, what did I do that led to me getting yelled at? You know what I mean? And Gunny Sheridan, he blasted me a shit ton. And it was always, I snapped on, I got sergeant, we got promoted, but then it was always like, what did I do that day differently? Sure, that I didn't do the day before, you know what I mean? So,
well, and that's the thing.
There's a lot more self-reflection.
Yeah, and people take ass chewings like it's like way too personal, bro. And it's like, dude, just relax, dude. Yeah. But it's also, again, people also do ass chewings in the way of, like, I'm going to blast the fuck out of you just to blast the fuck out of you, and then not explain to you why I blast the fuck out of you. And that's a problem. Because if you just yell at somebody and they don't understand why they were being yelled at, well, then what did that just do to anybody besides just demean them? Yeah. It didn't do anything.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about Gunny Sheridan. Like, he'd always blast me, but there was the problem, and then there was
How are we gonna fix it?
There was his solution.
Yeah.
And then once his solution was met, it was okay. Let's step back. How can you do it differently? How can it be Corporal Ortiz that does it next time as opposed to Staff Sergeant Sheridan that had to get in some ass? And I was like, okay, cool. And so because of him, I really liked the Marine Corps again. And then once you re-enlist, I think you've seen it too. It's the ones that are staying in for a while. They kind of come to you a little bit more because you've met that criteria. You know, like there's like a different brother. There's like a you know,
like a senior brotherhood.
Yeah, it's okay. It's like okay. Playing ball, we like that. So that's where I fell into. Once I re-enlisted, I kind of started getting more shit, and then I was on like the fast track with Lat. I was doing very well, and I got back. CO said great things about me. We're my OSC. He's like knocked it out the ballpark. Corporal, basically sergeant out there. Gunny Sheridan, same things. Like he's doing good. Well, Marine, I like him, and I got promoted to sergeant. Then I checked in with Alpha Battery. They're like, cool, you're that good, we're going to make you a platoon sergeant.
Oh, shit.
And then it kind of got to my head. It's like, I'm untouchable. So then I kind of started slipping back into my Lance Corporal, like, early tendencies where I started drinking again, like, heavily. I was partying hard. The respect for Marines that I had wasn't there anymore. And then it just got worse. I checked into sergeant school. So now I'm like OFP with a bunch of sergeants. And, once you put a certain number of the same rank in the same room, they act like Lance Corporals.
Oh, yeah. 100%, dude. It's reality, bro.
It's the beach
It's
back.
like some fucking science that happens.
It's
like all of you together. Whoop.
Yeah.
All right, Lance Corporals.
It's like drop the maturity.
We're all children again. Mom and Dad aren't here.
Yeah, so it's, I checked into sergeant school, and I had a UDP and a MAG TAF under my belt. So the only ones I had just as much experience as me were like some O3s, some recon guys that I met, like, because we just weren't deploying much when I joined, like anybody. And it was all going in my head. It's like, dude, I'm the shit.
Yeah.
It's like I was on cloud 9.
Yeah.
And July 4th hit, Camp Pendleton throws a huge beach bash. It was supposed to be my last one. I was supposed to go recruiting 2 months later.
Yeah.
And I just partied way too fucking hard. And I ended up out in town by myself. Long story short, I got arrested. Went to jail. Woke up in jail. And this is where I didn't have any luck. The new CO and Sergeant Major that came on deck were like, cool, throw the book at him. Dude, done. That is my second RI. My first one was in the schoolhouse, underage drinking.
Oh, shit.
So they're like, man, that's criteria right there for admin stuff if we really want to push it.
Yeah.
And the Sergeant Major, that's what he wants. The Sergeant Major gets what he wants. Luckily, I had this first sergeant. He was a Sergeant Major now, who I'm going to go work with in Florida.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. And he's like, what are we doing? Like, this was your number one sergeant, like, a week ago, and now he's not? Like, we're just that quick to cut him off, right?
Yeah.
And he really went to bat for me, and thankfully to him, like, we put an ORM request in. My class day got pushed back to this freaking Saturday next weekend.
Yeah.
And I had to climb back up the mountain, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like, now I'm a sergeant, but I wasn't respected as such.
Yeah.
And then luckily I had, again, another great support system. Matt Sergeant Poole, who one day, like, he was still a gunner sergeant, kind of came up to me one day in the office, like, are you done being a bitch, Ortiz? And I was like, what do you mean, gunner sergeant? He's like, are you done being Ortiz, or are you going to be Sergeant Ortiz? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, you got to figure your shit out. And I was like, well, like, I don't know. It's like that happened a month ago, brother. Like, let it go. If you don't let it go, no one else will.
Yeah.
People talk shit back.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you're from New Jersey. You've talked shit to me. Like, talk your shit and step it the fuck out, son. And I was like, damn, you're right, gunner sergeant. And like, yeah, like next day, I started taking back the responsibility that I had. They took it from me and they weren't gonna give it back. I had to take it, so I started working again. And First Sergeant Escobar, since he was a senior first sergeant, he went up to our headquarters and service battery and said, come be my clerk. That'll really help out. And I was like, hell yeah. And then I went to go work with him for a year and a half, and just every opportunity, like, hey, we need someone to run the range. I got it. We need someone to be a PSO for this. Like, I got it. Any volunteer that they needed, I was there. Weekends, it weren't mine anymore. They were to my units. You know what I mean? Like, I had to redeem myself and put back, like, a good name to my last name. You know what I mean? And then after that, like, his boy was a first sergeant for Bravo Battery who needed a sergeant for deployment, and I got lucky. And he asked me, he's like, do you want to take the section out? I was like, hell yeah. So I got to deploy one more time, and then that's when it really like I felt kind of almost redeemed. But yeah, there was just a lot of, and that was the start of my second enlistment, by the way, too. Like, that is not a good way to start a second enlistment, especially like as a sergeant. But yeah, I have a lot of reasons to hate the Marine Corps, but I don't, and I never will. Just because a lot of stuff that I've gone through has been self-inflicted and poor mindset.
And that's the thing, man. And I'm glad that you said that, because like that's something that I've always tried to explain to people. Like, I've met plenty of people that would cause me to hate the Marine Corps. Like, plenty of people that I literally loathe. Like, I can't stand the sight of them. I can't stand when I hear their name. It just fucking just reminds me of it. And the thing is, though, is that, like, and I've said this, time and time again, and I'll always say it, is the Marine Corps is an institution.
Yeah.
That's it. The Marine Corps is literally a fucking set of values, ethos, fucking leadership traits, fucking all that good shit. But guess what? It's not a human being. We are the people, the sergeants, the staff sergeants, the gunnery sergeants, the sergeant majors, the freaking master guns is. We're the ones that are supposed to uphold the values and make the Marine Corps keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we're human beings. We have human factors, and we fall short of that. And then we oppose our will on people. And that's why great leaders get out. People who should have stayed in, just people who should have gotten out stay in. And the thing is that the idea that you are taking onus on yourself and realizing that, bro, I'm the one who fucked up. I got arrested. I got underage drinking. So one of the questions that I would ask you is that, like, do you feel that like the alcohol that you dealt with while in the Marine Corps, how did you deal with that? Like, did it kind of like, was it pushed on you from the early age, like from the jump of the Marine Corps? Was it kind of like, because like one of the things that I talked about in one of my older episodes is just the indoctrination of alcohol in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
It's literally surrounding you. So did you find that it was something that you had to do? Did you find like you were, I don't want to say peer pressured into it, but did you find that like you kind of just did it to do it because everybody else was doing it?
I think peer pressure is a good word for it. Another one's like wanting to be accepted, not wanting to be the odd one out. But it wasn't the Marine Corps that pushed it on me. Like I said, my family's super Hispanic, so I went to Mexico every year as a kid. I remember when I was 12 years old, my cousin picked me up in a truck by himself. A 12-year-old driving a fucking truck by himself.
In Mexico?
In Mexico. And then I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I came to get you. Your parents sent me. And I was like, you don't have a license. And he's like, yeah, this is Mexico. Like, this ain't the US of A, brother. Get in. And I was like, I got in. And I just remember as soon as I closed the door, it was an old little Nissan. I closed the door and all I heard is like, clank, clank of like beers. And I was like, I like looked and I was like, it was 3 empty Coronas. And I was like, you got open alcohol in here. And he's like, what? And he's like, no, it's empty. It's not. It's empty. It doesn't count as open. I was like, well, who's drinking it? He's like, I am. And I was like, oh my God, you're 12 years old, 4 beers deep, driving me. Stick shift truck. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And then like, I just remember like, I got to my uncle's house and everyone's drinking. My dad's drinking. Like my mom, she doesn't drink, never touch alcohol. But she's with like all the women. Like over in Mexico, they're very like men do men things, women do women things. Yeah. And I went to go see all my cousins, and they're like, "Where's your drink?" And I was like, "I'll take it. You guys got Capri Sun?" And they like laughed, and I was like, "Is that because they don't have that in Mexico, or like what's up with that?" And they're like, "No, go grab a beer." And I was like, "Oh my God, I can't." But yeah, they kind of peer pressured me into it, and then like that's when I started drinking. And it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
My dad's like, "Good. Like you need to learn how to drink at an early age."
Yeah.
And it's only in Mexico, right? But then when I was 14, I went to Mexico with just my mom and my sisters. Mm-hmm. And I got plastered with my cousins. And by plastered, I mean I had 5 beers. Yeah. And blacked out, and I was throwing up everywhere. And my mom just, like, next day beat the shit out of me. And, like, took me to church.
Oh, shit.
And she's like, we're going to get the devil out of you. And then, my dad found out. And he just called me and laughed. And he said, if your mom asks, like, I gave you the talk. But other than that, just hold your alcohol better, lightweight, and hung up on me. And I joined the Marine Corps, and it was people still drank, so I was like, cool, whatever. And then so I had to go through AA and therapy when after I got out of jail, which to this day I think, and like I actually know how to drink now. You know, I don't drink to. My problem was I was a binge drinker. I wasn't like necessarily an alcoholic where my tolerance going up every day. Like my problem was like as soon as I touched booze, I needed to black out, and it's because I had bad coping mechanisms. I couldn't talk about my emotions. Like my mental health, it was something that I didn't neglect, but it's something that I didn't want to think about. It's like, I'm fine. It's like, as the uniform's on, I kick gas. Uniform's off, like, it's time to black out and forget about everything. Yeah. So that's what my problem was.
Yeah. It's crazy that you talk about that, because I just talked about that with my buddy Jackman. And a big reason we were talking about that was just because, like, that's the thing that you're taught in the Marine Corps. Is like, hey, man, and that's why it's such a hard topic, mental health. Yeah. Because it's like, okay... And I even deal with it like with my son. You know, I have a 3-year-old son. I'm still looking at life, right? And I'm like, okay, he falls and he gets he gets hurt. And I'm like, all right, Lucas, stand up, get up. Like, come on, it's okay. But then some days I'm just like, hey, bro, come here. And I'm holding him like, because he's fucking bawling his eyes out, right? Yeah. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because as leaders, the Marine Corps is one of two ways. And then it's like, back in the day, it was like, all right, hey, I'm going to beat the fucking shit out of you. And you're going to fucking take it like a man. And you're going to grow up and you're not going to talk about it because you're a man. But then now, so it's like a lot lesser than that. It's like people, or the generation we live in is, not always, but it's like a lot more coddled and stuff like that, where we talk a lot about mental health. But then it's like, okay, well, there has to be a happy medium, because people like me and you, like my buddy Jackman, he said the same thing. Came home from 2 deployments, and he wouldn't talk to anybody about anything, so he would just freaking drink a bottle of Sailor Jerry's to the face while playing video games, and he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. He's like, that's a normal amount of alcohol. Like, it's okay that I can polish off a bottle. It's okay that I can drink 27, Bud Lights in a row and just go to sleep. Like, he thought that was a normal thing. And the reason why was he said it perfectly. He was like, bro, I would compare myself to, like, Chesty Puller and Dane Daly. And he'd be like, do you think those motherfuckers ever talked about it? No. They just drank more. And they just, he's like, and he would literally just be like, I'm not a warrior if I tell people that I have problems. Yeah. And that's a lot of people feel that way. It's like, or... It's like something that I've felt before, is what I went through isn't nearly as bad as what they've gone through, so I don't rate to say anything. Yeah. I've had that thought in my mind.
See, and the thing sometimes too, it's like
this dude to compare. Like this dude that I met at the bar the other night with 2 Purple Hearts. This dude, bro, he got shot. I don't remember how far it was, but he got shot. And it hit his freaking sappy plate, and went the bullet went in, didn't pierce the body, but it went in the sappy, and then a couple of weeks or whatever, same deployment, so he got a Purple Heart for that, and then the same deployment, he had a freaking bullet hit his Kevlar, same thing. So this dude, and I'm just like. And that's why, again, in my mind, I'm like, bro, I can't have PTSD. Like, if this guy's living life and out at a bar and dealing with life, then who the fuck am I? Like, I didn't deal with that shit. That's how, a lot of times I feel. You know what I mean?
I feel sometimes, too, it's like we want to diagnose ourselves with something, so we have an excuse to quantify what we do. Yeah. And it's like, it's bad, and it's like, yeah, we always compare ourselves to the guys that from before. But I honestly, I think some people got it rougher now. It's because all you can see and do is compare yourself to the guys back then, and you'll never feel self-satisfied because it's like, well, I'll never be able to do what they did, and I feel especially bad for that generational gap.
I never thought of I never thought about it like that.
It's like I feel bad for that gap of grunts, Marines, soldiers, airmen that started getting iPhones but we're during peacetime, and they didn't deploy. But they know everything in the past, and now they're out, and now everything that's happened in the present. It's like, well, I didn't do anything. It's like, and it's,
bro,
it's like,
so true.
It's like, don't
It's
feel
so
bad, man.
true.
It's like, those guys probably were hard charging motivators because they didn't have anything to compare themselves to. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, our information is so vast now that sometimes we tend to forget that it's like,
and even
they didn't
like,
have that.
Back to the point that you just said, it's so true, because I know people myself that literally, I got to my unit, like you said, within a couple of months I was deployed to Afghanistan. Like, I literally started my workup, was going to Afghan. Dude, there was guys that literally checked in the next day. And they were like, nope, you didn't make the cut, bro. You're not going.
Yeah.
And now those guys spent 6 years in the reserves, not doing a damn thing. And now they're out of the Marine Corps. And they're like, bro, some of them don't even want to acknowledge that they were in the Marine Corps.
And it sucks, man.
Because there's civilians out there who were immediate first question, hey, man, such a go see anything, bro? Mm-hmm. And now they don't even feel like I should even say that I'm a Marine because I don't. And I had a buddy tell me that the other day. He was like, bro, he's like, I don't even bring it up sometimes. Yeah. He's like, I don't even bring it into conversation sometimes because, especially with someone that I don't know or I'm meeting for the first time, he's like, I'll just tell them that I do something else and that he's in the Marine Corps. And he literally is like, bro, I don't even want, because like when I tell people that I'm Marine and I'm infantry, they immediately correlate it with, oh, you've got to be a fucking badass.
And that sucks sometimes.
And it's like, well, I haven't had the opportunity to. Now, mind you, do I know my job? Can I do my job? Can I do all these things? Yeah, but have I? No. So now to that person, they're not, some of them, they're nothing. Like my buddy Rassiopi. Dude's been in the Marine Corps like 7 or 8 years. I think he joined the same time as you. And he's been infantry the whole time. He just lateral moved to some new job. And I used to fuck with him because we're Marines and we fuck with people. And I would be like, hey man, how does it feel that a reservist has a combat action ribbon and you don't? And I'd be like, how does it make you feel that a reservist has been to Afghanistan and you haven't? Yeah. And joking because we're boys, but it does bother the fuck out of him. Yeah. Bothers the hell. Like another guy, a lot of people that I know are infantry they've never done anything. They've never deployed. They've done all this training and they're like, for what? Mm-hmm. And it's true though. Like I don't. It's a really great question. Like, how do they feel? What do they think?
Yeah, and it's. I tell a lot of people this. It's like the military. It's a very time-based thing that you can never guess right.
Bro, that's and that's the thing that nobody understands, bro. Mm-hmm. People don't get that, bro. You're either in the right place or the wrong place. There's nothing you could do, bro. Nothing. You literally joined at the right time. You joined at the wrong time. Or you thought you wanted this and you didn't get this. It's life, bro. Yeah. There's nothing you could do about it. You can't change the day you joined. You can't change. And that's why it's just like, you gotta just let it be. You gotta live life and live it to the fullest and, fucking capitalize when you can. So if you don't mind, how do you, so you had two very close friends that you lost to suicide. Mm-hmm. How did that? This is like one of those questions where you're like, it's kind of a stupid question, but how did that feel? Getting that phone call.
The first one I was in Colorado, hungover. It was 4 a.m. Sergeant Sanchez. Love her to death. She's my best friend, like a sister. She's killing it out at the depot right now, Paris Island too. So shout out to her. But she texted me. She was 2 hours ahead. She's in Cali. I had just finished skiing, so I was sore, super sore. She told me she's like, hey, he's dead, and I felt high. I did drugs before I joined. I did acid. I smoked weed, and it was like a combination of everything that I've done, and I felt numb, but like not a good numb. Like it was like a bad trip. And I remember I was supposed to stay in Colorado one more day, and I told my boys, like, I gotta go. Who also was in the Marine Corps. And we're at his girlfriend's place.
What, were you on leave?
Yeah, I was on leave. And I was like, I gotta go. And I drove from Colorado through New Mexico, zoned out the entire trip. Like, I blacked out. And there was no music playing in my truck, nothing. Like, I was just zoning. Like the only reason why I stopped and came to, it's like my truck light came out on for gas. It was like beep beep. I was like, oh crap, I gotta stop.
Yeah.
And what really bothered me is before I went on leave, like me and him were at Dunkin' Donuts, getting some donuts on base, and same thing, we're talking about timing, because he's like, damn dude, like 3 deployments in an SDA, like I barely got one. It's like sucks to be a boot, because I knew him when he checked in as a Lance Corporal, and he was very good. He was a good Lance Corporal. Like he could take an ass chewing and be better. He never took it too personally. And I was like, dude, you're fine. It doesn't matter. Like your deployments don't make you a better Marine. And he always had like really curly hair, kind of long hair. Like, so I jokingly said, it's like your haircut makes you a good Marine. You know, it's like get him medium fade, you know, just busting his balls. And I said, your sleeves make you a good Marine. You know, like he sucked at rolling sleeves. And he laughed and I laughed and I was like, man, like we'll be fine with whatever we do as long as like we keep being like good dudes. Because he was a good dude.
Yeah.
MAI, like whole 9 yards. And then like me and him were close, but we weren't the best of friends. But every time we saw each other, it was good. It felt, the love felt there, you know.
Yeah.
And then my best friend Ryan Bang, his really fucked me up because, you know, we, like I said, we joined boot camp at the same time on opposite coasts, and we ran into each other at 29 Palms. He was first the guy that talked to me, and we had our whole progression together, our first deployment together in opposite platoons. But he got promoted to Lance Corporal before I did by like 45 minutes. And then he went out of his way to find me as a PFC still. And he's like, hey, it's Lance Corporal Bang. And he brought one of my boys down, Sergeant Hernandez, with them. And I was like, okay, Bang. And he's like, no, it's Lance Corporal. Stupid. And I was like, I'm Sergeant. He's like, I Lance Corporal. And they left. And, you know, we did that first deployment, we got back, and then we finally got put in the same battery, but against separate platoons.
Oh, shit.
So, we're like, damn, dude, this sucks. And then 2 guys got injured, so they mixed our platoons. I'm like, perfect. Now we're running it. We're Lance Corporals together. And we're like, you know, complaining about the shit together, like, oh, the field sucks, this sucks, but at least we have each other. We'd sleep next to each other out in the field. The whole 9 yards. You know, we're like a gay married couple. I loved it. Because we're so into anime and food, so we just meshed. Click on everything, you know? And he was younger than me, but he was always like my mature brother. And he told me the truth that I never wanted to hear but needed to hear, and I neglected it for a really long time. But we got out to Fort Carson in Colorado in October. He got promoted to corporal, and again went out of his way. He said, "Hey, Lance Corporal, get the fuck over here." And he was with all the other NCOs, and I was like, I just nodded my head, and I kind of hesitated, and that's when the shark attack happened. He's like, okay, bitch, our fucking corporal said something. And I was like, gentlemen, you know, like, they're all my boys. Like, all my boys got promoted first, so they're just fucking with me out in the lot, like the Motor T lot. And Staff Sergeant comes over, he's like, what are you guys doing? He's like, oh, it's just the corporal's fucking with the Motor T Staff Sergeant. He's like, oh, cool. Let's get in on it. And I was like, damn. And like, we go to chow, and it was like, I was like, Bang, you piece of shit. And then he's like, it's Corporal fucking Bang. I was like, fuck. And then I got promoted a month later, and then I was like, what's up? We're on the same freaking goddamn pedestal again, right?
Nah, it's senior late. It's
it's like, nah, I got you beat by a month, bro. And then we find out we're going to Oki together, so we're like, boom, roommates.
Yeah.
So now we're loving life, and he kept telling me every day, he's like, do your MCIs, and I was like, no, I'm not doing my MCIs. And then he's like, do your MCIs, and he's like, bro, we're not gonna get promoted till next year. And he's like, if you don't do your MCIs, you won't get promoted till next year. So he knocks his shit out. Come November, he gets promoted sergeant. And then he's like, hey, Corporal Ortiz, get the fuck over here. And I was like, aye, sergeant, you know? And then, I got promoted a few months later, and we just always kept in touch, man. Like,
yeah.
Even there were some times, because he didn't re-enlist, I did obviously, so like, I got back from deployment and went straight to the field, like straight to another workup. And he didn't.
Yeah.
And I'd go out, and we wouldn't talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
But he'd always check up. Or I'd check up. Yeah. We'd go get chow. We'd always break bread together. You know, he never drank too much. He had the Asian glow, they call it. So he's like, yeah, I can't drink. And,
bro, real quick.
Yeah.
This is the only time I'll probably ever have the opportunity to tell this story, because it's funny as shit, and I'm actually gonna see this dude at a wedding tomorrow. So my boy, his name is Bao Gainu. Mm-hmm. So you know how you have you ever been to mess nights?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know how the tradition of a mess night, like people always do like the order of the pizza, and then someone has to pay the tab.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna order Chinese food for my boy Bao Gai Nu. And so I called the place up. I'm like, listen, at this time, I need you guys to bring the food in, and I need you to say it's for Bao Gai Nu. So we literally just did the vice president stands up. He's like, hey, the beef is good for consumption. We just hit that part, and the guy standing up talking, and the guy from the Chinese place comes in with a big old bag of Chinese food, and he's like, just standing there, and the captain turns around. And he goes, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I have an order for Bao Gai Nu." And he goes, "Who the fuck is Bao Gai Nu?" And he's like, "I know we just said that this food was fit for consumption. So why the hell did you feel the need to go order food?" And he's like, "So who the hell is Bao Gai Nu?" So we're all already standing at attention. We haven't sat yet. So my boy looks at me. He threw his just peers at me. He's like, "Bro, you're a fucking piece of shit." And I'm just like, "Bro, it wasn't me." He's like, "Yeah, I know it was you." So I'm like, whatever. So all of a sudden the captain's like, and my boy's like, "Me, sir." He's like, "Sergeant Nu is Bao Gai Nu." So then the captain's just like, "So you don't like my food?" And he was like, "It wasn't me." He goes, "It wasn't me, sir. It was someone else, sir. It was a fellow sergeant in our midst."
Yeah.
So then he goes,
"Say it ain't so."
Yeah, everyone was like, "Say it ain't so, say it ain't so."
There's a Travis.
So then, yeah. So we're going ham, dude. And all of a sudden they're like, he's like, "So who was this said Marine?" And he goes, "Sergeant Bennett." And he goes, "Sergeant Bennett, what the fuck do you have to say for yourself?" And I was just like, I was like, "Sir, Sergeant Bennett requests permission to move about freely," because Nu didn't know the rules and shit. So I was like, "Bro, I know how to play this game."
Yeah.
So now I start, so I lawyer up. I start walking around, and I'm like, "Sir, this is my senior sergeant. I just got promoted to sergeant, and I know, like you said, that my sergeant has that Asian glow about him, and I know that when he gets to drinking, he's gonna start, getting flush. He's allergic to alcohol, and I know he's not going to feel good." So I thought that it would be a great thing to have his, family delicacy. Meanwhile, I think he's Korean. He's not Chinese, but whatever. I apologize if you take offense to that. So he literally, and now, I forgot this part. So when the guy brought in the food, I told him it's for Bao Gai Nu, and it's from Big Mike and the Boys. All right. So Big Mike and the Boys, I think it's from the other guys with
Dirty Mike and the Boys.
Yeah, Dirty Mike and the Boys. So our first sergeant's first name was Mike, and he was an Asian dude too. And behind his back, we would call him Dirty Mike. Mm-hmm. Like people, like jokingly, like nothing against the guy. Yeah. He was a great guy, but like jokingly, people would call him Big Mike, Dirty Mike, and all this shit. So when the guy came in, he was like, "Yeah, it's from Dirty Mike and the Boys." So then the captain, after I gave him the explanation of why I gave him this food, the captain's like, and he's like, "Bennett, who the fuck's Dirty Mike and the Boys?" So I look at the senior table and I'm like, well, we can all assume who Dirty Mike is. That's you, First Sergeant. And I was like, the boys is everybody sitting at the table. And there's this old crusty sergeant major who loved my mustache, and he complimented it when he walked in, and he's just laughing his ass off, and he's just looking at me like, "Bro, this shit's some funny shit." And just, dude, it was just fucking hilarious. Meanwhile, dude, my boy just was so pissed at me for the rest of forever, and that shit was fucking great. So your boy gets the Asian glow.
Yeah. So the Asian glow, right? So never drank much, but yeah, we disconnected for a bit, and then he got out, and we kept in touch. And when I got in trouble, I fell off the map for a little bit, and then I was like, I hit him up and was like, "Hey, apologies for falling off the map, man. Like, been kind of through it. Like, I'm not in the right mind state. A lot's going on. I don't know who to talk to, who to turn to about this, because it's never happened. You know what I mean?" And then like he kind of just like say, "Okay, I'm here to listen." So I think that's really set him apart from everyone else. It's like when my situation happened, when I told him, when everyone found out, right? My unit's very small. The first thing is like, "Yo, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened?" No one ever asked me like, "How are you?"
Yeah, that's what he was like. The first
never
one happens.
He's the first one that was like, "It's like, how are you doing?"
Yeah,
it's like, dude,
nobody ever asks that.
And I was like, dude, like, I don't know, man. Like, I want to cry, but I can't. Like, I'm not used to, like, I've never had this much emotion. And then he's like, well, I don't know what to say to you, but I'm here to listen. And I didn't, like, I just started talking and rambling, and none of it made sense. And I just started, like, naturally, like, tears started falling. And I was like, dude, like, I don't know if I'm done with the Marine Corps. Like, if I'm done, like, how am I going to go see my parents? Like, I don't know what to do, man. Like, this, that, and this. He's like, my house is always open for you. You know, if you want to work in LA, I don't care if you collect trash every day. Like, you have a place with me until you get back on your feet, regardless of the situation. I was like, thanks, man. And then, you know, we kept talking. He was going through school. And then I started rebounding. He's like, dude, I love that for you, man. We hung out once before I deployed, and then I told him about the deployment, and I left. And we kept talking throughout the deployment. And then he's like, dude, COVID sucks. And this started, like, really blame myself. Like, kept saying COVID sucks, and I never really understood how hard quarantine hit some people because I wasn't dealing with it. Like, in Iraq, like, there, like, where I was at, there was, like, no mask, nothing. You know, like, Iraqis just couldn't stop. You know what I mean? Like, they had to work every day still. They had to keep their farms up, all this. Like, we have a very luxurious life to where we stopped everything. And I failed to realize, like, how much of a toll that took on some people, right? So, I never looked out for him, like, the way he did for me. And then we got back, and I thought it was gravy because we spent a weekend at Pacific Beach together. We got an Airbnb, and he drank with me, like, which he never did. So I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And then he's like, yeah, like, you know, I've been doing bad, but I'm doing better. And I was like, good, but I was still, like, in my state, like, I was still doing really good. So it's like, I never followed up with him as much as I should have. And then I remember in February, I did a Lance Corporal seminar. I was an instructor. And right after that, I did a corporal's course. Also an instructor. And I was like, dude, like, I talk about you so much. Like, all I tell is our stories, you know, like, super funny stuff. Marines always love hearing about my Asian roommate. And same thing. I was like, he was a Korean guy, you know? He was a Korean guy that, his name's not actually Bang. It's Pung. But when his dad got his visa, they dropped the H from the last name, so it's just Bang. And like, his dad just accepted it. But, yeah, and it's just, he fell off the mat for a little bit, and then, like, he hit me up out of the blue one day, and I was like, hey, man, like, you just can't do that. You know, it's like, you worry me sometimes. But then, like, I did another Lance Corporal seminar. Like, I was relatively kind of busy. But you're never too busy to kind of check up on someone.
Yeah.
And, but I get super involved into things. Like, once I start doing something, I kind of, like, put all my eggs in one basket. So, like, when I was in Lance Corporal seminar, like, my time was only for the Lance Corporals.
Yeah.
When I was in Corporal's course, like, my time was only for the Corporals. Like, everything else was second, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where, like, one of my biggest, like, downfalls is. Same thing, like, this Lance Corporal seminar was like, I want it to be great. I want it to be good. And, like, what am I going to do for PT? How are my classes going to be? Like, how can I make it unique to them? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I never called it Lance Camp for them. I'm like, hey, it's Lance Corporal Leadership, Ethics, and Seminar. Like, this is your introduction to PME. Same thing with Corporal's course. Like, this isn't Corporal's Camp. This is Corporal's course. Like, you guys need to mature up a little bit. You know, your NCOs. If you're not getting treated as such, you need to demand that respect. You know, like, you have to kind of edge it. And, yeah, all that was over. And then my boys, they're like, yeah, we should have a toast, go out, kind of do our thing. And I was like, hell yeah. I went out, and the next day, I was like, I'm going to ride my bike. I got a motorcycle. I was like, I'm going to ride my bike and go try out this breakfast shop. And I went to go get breakfast, and I kind of felt, like, uneasy. Like, not hungover, but I was like, I don't feel so good. And then his girlfriend hit me up on Facebook, and we always talked about her. I occasionally said hi to her a few times. But we were never, like, friends. And she's like, hey, like, something happened with Ryan. Like, you need to call me. And at first I was like, is this a scam thing? But then, like, when I reread it and it's like something happened to Bang, like, you know, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I was like, he's in the hospital. And then I was like texting my number, like, I kind of like froze up, and I was like, Bang's not in the hospital, you know? And then, like, I sent my number, and she called me, and she's like, hey, and she broke off, and then, like, I just went silent, and it was just like, probably about 2 minutes of silence that felt like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Bang's dead. And I just, like, didn't eat. And then she's like, could you please tell like all his friends in the Marine Corps? And I think that's what hurt me the most. Like I kept calling people and they kept saying like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know, and like I don't. It's not appropriate to ask right now. You know what I mean? Like just know that it happened. If you can like let everyone else know. So it sucked being burdened with telling people that. And then like it didn't feel real till like they had like a viewing for him, and like I just saw his body like right there, like I could see like the exit wound, and like they patched it up really nice, but like I could still see it, and like I think his dad like felt it because he like kind of like screamed out a little bit, and like I still have nightmares like of like his dad screaming out a little bit, and it's like it felt like an out of body experience, like I was like looking at myself in like the third person, like just staring. It didn't feel real till I saw it, you know? So it's, I think now more than ever, like, I've really been talking about mental health a lot, as much as I can, and it's like, we need to take care of each other more, like, mentally. Yeah. Just because, like, it goes back to what we started with. The grass is not greener on the other side. Yeah. The grass is greener where you water it, you know? Yeah. So, you know, rest in peace to both my friends, and to anyone listening, like, if you ever need anything, like, just reach out. Yeah. You know? Like, this is a great podcast to do it. Yeah, definitely. Got my number, you know, like, people have called me at 2 a.m. and I'll pick up.
There was somebody just, I don't know his name, but it came across my Facebook because, like, 5 people that I know from Monmouth County deployed with this guy, and he passed away. I think his name was Jason. But he has a wife, a kid on the way, and it's, you know, it's just sad, man. And, you know, not getting into politics or COVID, but, you know, I was listening to this this podcast, and one of the things they were talking about is that the amount of lives that we've lost due to quarantine. Yeah. Like, no one's factoring that in. Like, there was a lot of lives because, you gotta think about it, people couldn't go to AA. People couldn't go to any of these meetings that they needed to literally survive. Yeah. They couldn't go see their family that was helping them survive. They couldn't go see their kids, whatever it is. So a lot of people literally took the alternate route, and they're no longer with us because they weren't able to any longer. And bro, there's a very big difference. Like when I started doing my podcast, you know, the guy that I was originally with, he was all about like doing things virtually. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, bro, there's a very big difference between me and you sitting across from each other than there is virtually. Yeah. Now, if I have to, clearly I'm not going to fly to Cali because I'm not freaking Joe Rogan yet. But when I am, now that's a different story. Shout out to Joe Rogan. Yeah, shout out to you. But right now, I don't have that luxury. But when I do, and people are on leave and they can make it out, then that's the opportune time. But what I'm saying is that there's people who literally died because quarantine was put in place. And you know, it's fucked up. It really is. It is, man. But you know, now that we're on that piece of the mental health, it's just I've never been there. But I seriously, like, there's somebody out there who would listen. Yeah. And the thing is if you're not somebody that would, you need to become somebody that would. And the thing is that you don't have to come at people like you said. You just gotta, hey man, how are you? Mm. But the thing is, you also have to be genuine all of the time. Because if you just come at somebody like, hey man, what's going on? Hey man, how are you? People are like, bro, he doesn't mean that. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, like talking about human factors again, it's the same thing. If I'm the corporal, or even just in the civilian world, if I'm somebody that you know without a shadow of a doubt, when you tell me something, I'm going to go tell somebody else. Well, now it's not genuine. It's not real, because now I'm just another word that's going to come out of your mouth. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we, you know, I'm not going to go into context because it's not my place to, but I have a very close friend. Well, he's not really a close friend. I apologize. He's a mass sergeant. He was one of my instructors while I was in the Marine Corps for one of the schools that I attended. And he's someone that I look up to so much, man. Like someone that, like, literally to me is the epitome of what it should be. Like that Marine literally is like, you look at him and you're like, bro, yeah, that's who I want to be in the Marine Corps. Like, that's the guy. And he was someone that through 4 years of recruiting duty, call him at 2:30 in the morning, bro. I would fucking cry my eyes out. I would fucking talk to him about everything and anything, and always, if he didn't answer, he'd call me back, or he'd text me and be like, "Hey man, let me give you a call back. I'm in a meeting," or whatever it was. And a couple of months ago, when I was transitioning off of active duty, I reached out to him to let him know what was going on, because he was always in my life like, "Hey man, what's going on? I know you want to be an 8412. I know you want to be a career recruiter. What's going on with that?" And eventually I ended up, trying to reach out to him to let him know what was going on back in like February-ish, and I couldn't get a hold of him. And finally he answered, and he was like, "Hey man, a lot of things are going on in my life right now, and I just don't have the time to talk to anybody."
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. So now, because of everything that's going on in the world, my immediate thought is like, "Fuck, dude, what's going on? Like, is he okay?
Buddy,
right?"
Okay? Yeah.
And mind you, I'm a staff sergeant. He's a mass sergeant. So I'm still like, you know what? He's still a dude. He's still a guy. He's still a human being. I don't care that he's a mass sergeant. I'm going to reach out. So every couple of weeks, every couple of months, I would text him. And I would just be like, "Hey man, I know you told me everything. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. I just want you to know that you're a huge mentor to me, and I wouldn't be where I am in life without you. And I just hope everything's okay. I just hope everything's okay." And I would do that every like 2-3 weeks. And now it's 6 months later, and he hit me up, called me yesterday, and he was just like, "Hey man, there's a lot of stuff going on in my career right now." And he was just like, he's like, "You have no idea how much I appreciate those text messages."
Yeah.
And he was like, "It's nothing against you." He was just like, "I get into deep, dark places in my life where I just forget to answer people, and I kind of just push people away. And this was one of those times." But he was like, "You don't know how much it meant to me that you were sending me those text messages and you didn't stop."
Yeah.
And that's the thing, man, is that like, there's people out there who need help, but will never say it. And be annoying, be aggravating. "Hey man, you good? Hey man, you good? Hey, is everything okay?" And just, but also I think a huge part of where we live in life, especially being in the Marine Corps and in any branch of military, cops too, firefighters, like, we live in such a demanding position in life where you have to be a man, and you have to be mentally fit, and you have to be mentally tough, to where we get to the point where we're like, "No, I can't say anything."
Yeah.
But it's like, you have to.
Sometimes, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think there's going back to when I did therapy, it's like you don't necessarily always have to say something. Like, you right there with like Prime, like, "Hey, just want you to know you did all this for me." Just positive encouragement sometimes.
Yeah.
And then like when I went through therapy, the first therapist I met, he was check on a box guy. And I remember like one day I said like the wrong thing, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this," and he's like, "Well, you're not supposed to." And I was like, "Listen, like, I can't just tailor my life to this." So the backstory is, I was supposed to be sober as a cucumber, right? I think I was sober for like half a year, and he's like, "No drinking at all." And I remember I said like, "Hey, like, my friend invited me to his family's party." He's like, "Is there gonna be drinking?" I was like, "Yeah, it's a family party." He's like, "Well, you can't go then." And he's like, "Listen, man, like, I can't tailor my life to just completely cut off alcohol from everything. Like, I can't be like, 'Hey, Mom and Dad, I'm coming home. You guys can't have any alcohol in the house.'
Empty out the liquor cabinet.
It's like hitting up my sister.
"Dad, get rid of the Modelo."
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to my sister's house. "Hey, Laura, like, get rid of all your tequila, like, everything, like, cut it out. Like, your liquor cabinet, it needs to be at the house." Same thing with my friends. Like, I can't be like, "Yo, like, guys, I'm coming over. No booze whatsoever. We can't go out to bars." It's like, you just can't do that. Like, you gotta find a way to cope with it.
Yeah.
And
dude, my boy Jackman was literally told me, he's like, "Dude, I do beer runs for people."
Yeah. And
he's like, "Bro, he's been sober for 4 years, and he's literally like, dude, one of our friends, Alan, fucking douchebag, at the Marine Corps ball. We know that Jackman is literally 4 years sober."
Mm-hmm.
Alan says, "Hey man, can you get me a drink at the bar? Rum and Coke." So Jackman gets it, and he's like, "Bro, it's my favorite drink ever." Yeah. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he even said it. He's like, "Bro, I was tempted. I was like, I could just have one sip And he was just like, no, I just didn't do it.
Yeah, so that was my thing. It's like, I needed to know if I had self-control.
Yeah.
So, like, I went, and I came back, and then I did my therapy session the next week, and he's like, "Did you go?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he like told my Sacco, so then I had to extend my A meetings, my therapy stuff, and then I remember I just went in my next one with him, like, "Hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore." So it was like super awkward. Like it was just imagine this podcast being an hour long, but us not saying anything, and just staring at each other.
We could do
That's
that.
what my next session was. Yeah, no, we could do it. It'd just be awkward to like look at and listen.
How would you guys feel?
Ready to try it out? But yeah, so at the end of it, like after the hour of just silence, because like I literally didn't say a word, like I'm not obligated to. He's like, "Well, how are we gonna solve this?" Like, "Well, I want to talk to somebody else." And then the following week I came back and they're like, "Oh, you got someone different." Older lady. I went in and she's like, "Hey, for today, I just want to let's sit over here on this couch." It was like a little island couch, like a long couch. And she's like, "Let's just sit back to back." And I was like, "Okay." And like we just sat back to back and it was silent. And she's like, "You don't have to tell me anything. Like, you and I don't know each other. Like, I got your name, I got everything, I got all the stuff, all the notes." And then we didn't talk, and just like sat on each other, like back to back. And like, so remember I got up and she's like, "How do you feel?" And I was just like, "I actually feel really good." And she's like, "Good. I want you to feel comfortable with me." And next week I came back, and she did the same thing. And she's like, "Now I'll tell you about me." And she went through her backstory, and she like broke down her barriers. And then like next week, like she didn't have to break it down. Like I just went straight to the couch, and she's like, "Oh, you already know what we're doing." I was like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." Yeah. Like I'm kind of comfortable with it. And then like it felt good because like I felt her on me. But since we're back to back, like I was talking to the wall.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like she was judging me.
Maybe my next podcast needs to be us facing each other, like opposite
back
ways.
To back. Yeah. Maybe not for the podcast.
Yeah.
But you know, it felt good in the moment with her for like that. And it's.
I never thought that's cool.
She helped me a lot with like self-realization and everything, and it's like she didn't make it feel like it was just her and I. You know what I mean? Like I told her like, "Hey, like this is what I go through. Like this is when I have bad thoughts. Like this is what happens." He said, "Well, you ever contemplated suicide?" It's like I never did until I went to jail and I was in that holding cell for so long. Like, and then when they put me in another jail cell, it's like there's no perception of time. It's just lights on all day, and it's like I never felt so like I don't know how to describe it, like empty, like hollow, like just no escape. Because like I remember like one of the guards, I asked him like, "Hey, like what time is it?" And he's like, "Oh, it's 11:03." And then like I waited like 2 hours, and then I was like, "Hey, what time is it?" And he's like, "It's 11:05." I was like, "What the? There's no way." Like I just saw my first memory up until my last memory. That took at least 2 hours. Like my life's been pretty long. You know what I mean? And he's like, "No, it's 50 minutes." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And then like I was like, "Dude, if I had it, like if someone put a gun in that cell with me, I would have blown my brains out." That's how like, because it wasn't just regular boredom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would have blown my brains out. Like there's no other way to explain it. And it's just if someone would have put like paint on the wall and let me see it dry, that would have saved my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's how empty I was. You know, and it's just like because you're just with your thoughts, and it wasn't like that I was scared or suicidal. Like she pretty much broke down. It's like you're just scared to like think. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to think about what you've done. You don't want because I told her it's like I have no regrets. She's like, "Oh, you do have regrets. You just don't want to accept them." And I was like, "Okay, lady, you're right. So now I want to go." You know what I mean? So, pretty wild stuff. But yeah, it was nuts. I'm glad I went through it though. You know what I mean? Like now I know how to reel myself back in when I'm doing things. You know, they're self-destructive that I used to do back then. So
yeah, and that's the thing about it, man, is that like, you know, people always ask that question, like, you know, why does God let these things happen to us? It's like, well, first of all, we have free will, and then it's also like you just said, like now you know how to reel yourself back.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's like, you know, podcast, it's talking to people. You know, now you've been through something that someone may be going through. Maybe you can help them not have to go through it. So it's, you know, it's a crazy thing, man. So how do you feel now being the next evolution of life is recruiting duty? Checking in a week from now.
For change of pace, I've heard nothing but horror stories, but I really want to prove a lot of people wrong. I feel like I've proved a lot of people wrong like throughout my career as a whole, so I want to continue that trend. And every time I say I want to get out, I find a reason to stay in, and it's I just the last Lance Corporal seminar I did. I'm very big into like addressing Marines by their rank.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of Lance Corporal's like, hey, Sergeant Ortiz, like, do you always like call Marines by their ranks? I'm like, no, I didn't start doing that until like a year and a half ago. He's like, oh, why do you do it? And I was like, well, you address me by my rank, so I should address you by yours because your rank means something, whether you believe it or not, you know. And he just said thank you for that. And then a week later, he's like, hey, like, I just passed my promotion panel. Like, you know, everyone voted yes. And, you know, everyone complimented me. And I just want to say thank you because we did, like, a little mock promotion panel for him. And I said, listen, you just got to show up cocky as fuck. If you ever want to be cocky, your promotion panel's it, you know? And, knock, keys to the test. And, yeah, he knocked it out the park. And he's like, I get promoted in September if you could be there. I was like, unfortunately, brother, that's the one I'm going to say no to. Because I got to check in recruiting school.
Yeah.
But send me pictures. I'd love to see it. But it was like that for me. It was very refreshing, and that's I want to see how I can spin that towards a kid in high school. You know, how I can make them feel more unique. Just because one of the sergeant majors that I met that I really look up to, mentored my life, that I hit up for a lot of guidance is it's better to be wanted than needed, and that's a mindset I want to take into recruiting. Like I want to grab these applicants and be like, hey, I don't need any of you. Like, you're here because I want you, and I think you'll do good. I think you'll be a force.
That's the mentality you have to have.
Yeah.
Because, like, the way that I explained it to people was when you go out to a bar. If you go out to a bar and you're like, yo, I need you, yo. Like, I want some tonight, bro. Like, you're like, yeah. It's just like, bro, no chick in the world or guy or whatever you're into, no one's going to be like, oh, yeah. It's not going to happen. But when you walk into a bar and you just go to a bar and you're chilling and you're doing whatever, and maybe you look at somebody or whatever you do, people want you because you, and I'm not saying be cocky, but at the same time, like, that's how I was with kids. But I would tell people, dude, I had a kid literally come into the office because I told him to come in the office. On the phone. I was like, hey, man, come to my office. Kid was clean, everything. I was like, hey, man, come to my office today in 20 minutes. Kid showed up. Yeah. I asked him, why are you here? Because you told me to be here. I was like, wait, what? But what I'm saying is that I would tell people that, like, listen, man, the Marine Corps doesn't need you. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with a lot of recruiters. Yeah. Is they fall into this trap of, bro, I need two this month. And then you end up recruiting people that you should have never recruited. Yeah. That should have never been put into the Marine Corps. That should have never been a reservist. That should have never been in the Marine Corps, period. And now you put that infection into the Marine Corps, and then you wonder why we have a bad Marine Corps. Well, exactly. And that's the thing, is because it becomes, I don't want to say it becomes about a number, but the reality of it is that people just get so worried about the monkey on their back that they lose sight of that. But I'm telling you right now, if that's the mentality you go in there with, keep that mentality, be who you are, and just truly believe in the Marine Corps. Yeah. And show people what the Marine Corps has done for you, dude. Because just like Mendoza didn't have and you'll realize this as you become a recruiter, bro. The time that went into you becoming a Marine is fucking unfathomable, bro. Like, you going through the story, if you really think about the man hours that he literally put into you, while he could have been out trying to get somebody else in the Marine Corps, he could have been out trying to find somebody else, but he still dedicated that time to you. All it did, though, was it showed you that this guy truly gives a fuck about me. Exactly. And when he came to you and said, hey, man, I'm going to be real with you, you got to go open contract if you're trying to leave. Mm-hmm. He was coming to you from a reality, and as a human and as a person, and you were like, all right, word, let's do it. Like, but if he was, let me down before, but if he wasn't that guy and he came to you with that same thing, you'd be like, no, fuck you, dude. Yeah. But because of what he did, and that's the thing, man, is that, like, do I talk to every 57 kids I put in the Marine Corps? No. Do I talk to the majority of them? Yeah. I Snapchat them, Instagram them, Facebook them, call them. I talk to their parents still. Bro, do some of them... Bro, I don't know. But the thing is that you have to be a human being, and you have to just be who you are, because people know that you're not that person. Like when you try to put off some facade, it's like, dude, I know you're not that guy. I don't even know you, but I know you're not that guy. When you're like, hey, what's going on, man?
You're not that guy, pal.
It's like, bro, you would
You're
never,
not that guy.
you wouldn't talk to somebody like that. Like, would you really talk to somebody like that? And I would tell recruiters that all the time. I'd be like, dude, you don't talk like that.
Did you talk to
Like, I know you like that. I know you, and that's not how you talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like this dude Cuevas. If he talked to you about cars, bro, dude, literally, and we did it. We proved it to him because we videotaped him. So he would talk to you. He has I'm sorry if I fuck it up, Cuevas, but I think he has a 370Z, right? And he loves the car. It's everything to him. Like literally, he has 2 cars, so he only drives that one on sunny days. Will not take it. He literally rented an apartment with a garage for that car. Like that's how big he is into this car. So when you, funny story. So this dude, literally, he had a picture of it in the office, I think. And the commanding officer comes in the office. And the commanding officer goes, Cuevas, you're really about that car, right? And he looks at him and he goes, sir, I'm not going to suck my own dick, but yeah, it's a really great car. And I'm just like, did you really just say that to the fucking commanding officer, bro? Like, you really just said that? And then, but the thing is that, like, we videotaped him, when he would talk about his car, dude would be perfect, bro. Mm-hmm. You'd be like, yo, this is a good guy. He knows what he's talking about. The moment he would come to you as an applicant, talk to you about my name is Garrett, and you're like, bro, what the fuck? Like and we would do like a video, and you would watch him transition to now talking about the Marine Corps, and he would go from beautiful conversation to like, and it's like, bro, what's the problem, dude? Just talk to somebody. And that's the thing, man. Just people forget that you're literally just having a conversation, and it's because you go to school and they literally told you. I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but you get so caught up in the wickets and the doing this and the doing this and the doing this that you're like, bro, and you just get lost, man. Yeah. So are you excited, or are you?
I'm pumped. I can't wait to start this new chapter. I really want to get some more exposure. I think recruiting is going to be really good to where I'm really against the social media thing, but like if I'm forced to get into a platform, like I would just want to spread as much awareness as I can to mental health and kind of take away the stigma of like bottling up your emotions. You know, I think that's like my long-term goal. So we'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'm pumped. I'm really excited to see what I could do out there, and I'm just excited for the challenge. To be honest, you know.
So I'm gonna eventually have some people on the podcast to talk about their social media platform, because I know a shit ton of freaking Marine Corps recruiters that literally killed it just from their Instagram alone. Yeah. Like didn't make phone calls, didn't have to. They literally would get kids just hitting them up. And one of my buddies, Gunny Mabry, he has like 15,000 some odd followers, and the thing that he told me is you have to do the same thing every single day, because people are waiting for you to fuck up. Yeah. So like his thing is every single day he shows videos of him at the gym, and when I had him on the podcast, I was like, how do you do this every day? And he was like, because if I miss one day, there's somebody out there, he's like, who's literally like, you know what? Hey, see, you can't do it every day. And he's like, that's why I do it every day. And he's like, it's like freaking Jocko Willenick. 4:30 in the morning every single day, he's freaking taking a picture of his watch. And I'm not saying you have to do it every day, but what I'm saying is that like, there's a method to the madness. That's what I want to do, is I want to have people out here, because like you have people like Massart Wu. I don't know if you've heard of him. No. But dude literally, I think 3 years on recruiting duty. He's a cook in the Marine Corps, and he just spent 3 years on recruiting duty. Every Instagram post about different things, about cooking, about all this different stuff, and he literally became like a huge Instagram guy and just from recruiting duty. But he's also a great guy. Like yeah. I've messaged him and talked to him, and I'm actually gonna have him on the podcast. But yeah, man, that's the thing about it, man. Social media, so many people are so against it. But the thing is that it could be a very beautiful thing, or it could be the fucking devil, and that's the thing. is it could be a great thing or it could be a horrible thing. And especially in the world in which we live, because now it's part of recruiting. They're going to give you a class on digital communication. You're gonna have to learn how to do it. You're going to be expected to do it. But the biggest thing, man, is just be you, and people will, believe it or not, bro, people will join the Marine Corps because of you. They will want to become you. Like, bro, I'll tell you, be honest, bro, there's people who literally will never join the Marine Corps because of me. I won't lie. Like, literally people, they'll say it. Oh, bro, I was going to join the Marine Corps, but Bennett was a fucking scumbag. No, you were never going to join anyway, so fuck you. But I say that because I've had thousands of people, not thousands, not yet, but I've had plenty of people tell me if it wasn't for the way you were, I would have never joined. I've had parents tell me that. I've had parents tell me, like, bro, you told it how it fucking was. And especially to parents. Dude, parents, they've gone through sales presentations. They've bought cars. They've bought houses. When you sit down with their kid and you start trying to sell them some magical world of the military and you don't tell them the reality of shit, that's when they're going to get the fuck up and walk out.
Cut off,
But when you sit down with mom and dad and you're talking about, hey, mom, that's the first thing you ever do. What are your concerns? Right off the fucking rip. What are your concerns? Sir, what are your concerns? Okay? These are your concerns. Okay, this is what the Marine Corps is going to be able to do to help. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to rule them out, but you get those things up front. Because if you don't get them up front, then that's how kids back out. Oh, hey, we never addressed this. What if this happens? And now you're like, fuck. And now your boss is like, bro, you didn't talk about that. But I'm excited for you, man. It's like I said from the jump for this, it's really awesome to see you come full circle. From Poolie to Marine to Sergeant to going out on recruiting duty. So before we cap it up, do you have anything you want to leave us with? Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, all I'll leave you guys with is never be afraid to reach out and know that we don't know everything all the time. Keep people in your corner as much as you can, the ones that truly care. And, I'm sure you'll leave my Instagram information somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Feel free to reach out to me on the gram, and just reach out. Like I said, I'm a huge advocate for mental health right now, and I think that's what I want to dedicate my life to after the Marine Corps. So, just any questions you have, Marine Corps, not Marine Corps, just feel free to ask away for me. I love the human dimension. That stuff just blows my mind.
All right.
That's all I got.
No doubt. Well, thanks for
Thank
coming
you for
out.
having me.
Thanks for listening.
First YouTube video.